Welcome to NasStars, the NasStar Podcast, bringing you the conversations you want to hear from the front line of tech news.
Hello and welcome to the NasStars. We have a special episode today where we are talking specifically about women in tech. And to talk this through, we have three people on the panel. Hopefully they are going to be doing the majority of the talking, not me. We have Bryony Mason, who is a primary school teacher. We have Krysia Jones, who is Sales Support Manager for Nasstar, and we have Jess Batty, who is our Microsoft Alliance Manager for us as well. We're going to tackle this in two particular points. One is the early stages and getting a greater interest drummed up at a sort of an educational and societal level, and also what we can do now to make a bit more of an instant impact. So if everybody's happy, I suggest we crack on. Okay, so we are going to talk about women in tech again. This is a topic that we have covered before, probably with far too many men on that particular episode, but I think we've addressed the balance now. So welcome to you all. As I said, we did the intros. Bryony has joined us as I think going to provide a little bit of a spin for us on what we see in the early stages of education. Jess in the pre-chats has mentioned about doing some work with STEM, etc. And Krysia, we have met before.
Oh yes.
Which I don't know if I should just leave it there with Krysia. We have met before and part that out, but
no, I just have a predominantly female team, which is which wasn't by design. It's just the way it happened. But I'm happy it did.
So when we talked about this last time, we covered all various things about the attitudes of men within the workplace and all sorts of stuff like that. But one of the things that came out of the topic is when we are looking for technical resources, we quite often see either no applications from women or very, very few. And that opens up a question about are the skills out there? If that then sort of you follow it back, you get to the point of, well, how do people get interested? Where do they get interested? And probably the best place to start, I guess, is, what sort of tech are they exposed to in the early formative years at school? Does what they play with at home have any kind of bearing on it? That kind of thing. So really, I think it would just be a good idea to sort of talk through what we think is happening in that early era. And whether or not it's right or wrong, or whether we need to petition the government, although I think they've got a few problems on the go at the moment, to get things changed. So what's the thought? What are we seeing?
I think what I'm always surprised by is how early we partition children into boy things and girl things, and even at home I was very gender neutral. Boys can play with dolls and all the rest of it, and my children still went to school for 5 minutes and suddenly they were boys do this and girls do that, and I taught between nursery and year one, and we see it all the time, and very quickly their peers stamp out any kind of even if they come from a background where they were allowed to play with dolls and things, their peers say, no, you're not allowed to play with dolls and you're not allowed to like computers, based purely on their gender. And I think that happens very quickly. And a lot of parents still, and teachers still reinforce those ideas. And I think as a society, we still alarmingly, you go into a toy store and you have your computers in your boys aisle with boy pictures. They're getting better, but it's the token girl rather than actually marketing them at girls, or if they are marketed at girls, they're pink. And
yeah,
so we we want girls to buy our STEM products, let's make them pink.
But that's an interesting point, actually, because I'm officially really quite old now, and the pink thing never used to be around.
No.
But I would say over the last, I don't know, 10 years?
A bit more.
15? I don't know.
I'd say a bit more.
But the level of pink has certainly increased.
Oh yeah.
And so what we do? Are we going backwards? Is it a bad thing? Is it just pink's fine, but we're automatically attaching male, female?
I think a lot of our world is shaped by manufacturers and what they think we should be and what they think we should be doing, eating, sleeping, drinking, doing, playing. You know, you look at all the computer games that are out there, even they're aimed towards boys. They're big, they're black, the covers have got men fighting on them. There's very little out there that is aimed at women or girls, you know, in not in even a subtle way. But manufacturers tend to tell us what we should buy and how we should buy it and what we should like, you know, and that has stemmed from many, many years. It's only now that FIFA have started putting girls on the cover of their game.
Is there actually? I don't know this.
Yeah.
There's I think if you look at, I don't play this very often. If you look at FIFA previous versions, I think there was only a small chunk of women's teams that you could choose. Everything else was your mainstream blokes, and
and it's still a bit like that. FIFA 23 is the last one they've brought out. It's the last one they're doing ever. I know my partner likes it. But you can play with a girls' team, but still mainly it's all about the Prem. It's all about the boys. It's all about the rare players from 30 years ago. It's all about the history and the glory.
So coming back then to what's happening in the school. So we've obviously got this: girls do X, boys do Y, pink, blue. Everything's so stereotypical you couldn't paint it more stereotypical, I think. Within the school, when they are teaching things, and this probably applies to Bryony and Jess for the stuff that you do, a curriculum is a curriculum, right? It's not a boys' curriculum and a girls' curriculum. Typically, I would hope. I've not seen that since boys and girls changing rooms when they were boys and girls entrances to schools, etc., that you see around. But with a single curriculum, surely there should be a relatively equal message going out to both boys and girls and any other sort of gender, actually. But where's that bit breaking down? Is that driven by what you said, Bryony, with peers and parents saying, well, boys play with this, girls do X, Y, Z, in the same way that they used to be with boys do science and girls do something else or whatever? Is that the problem, or are the schools not necessarily putting in as much effort to steer everybody into this kind of thing? Because I don't think the tech arena is going to go away.
I think sorry,
Bryony. I was going to say, is it that they're not putting in enough effort, or is it the schools that are doing it, they're going above and beyond their natural day job? So all the STEM activities I get involved with and go and do career talks and showcase tech, they're all run by teachers who are female teachers predominantly, who are trying to get that interest because that's something they care about, not necessarily something that's part of the curriculum. And teachers are going above and beyond to do that extra activity. Actually, there's a lot of teachers that don't have time to do that. There's not enough teachers to do it. We all know that there's a bit of a shortage. So I think there's an issue within the curriculum, and the schools that are doing it, they're doing it as an extra activity rather than something that's built into the curriculum, is always the impression that I've got when I've gone to a few different schools.
I think tech in primary school, it'll be different in secondary school, but in primary school it often takes a back seat. Other than having iPads, which a lot of schools go, well, we've got iPads, so we teach technology, you know. And I know as a teacher, when I had meetings, it would all be about maths and English. So a lot of your focus is on maths and English, and tech becomes it's very outdated in schools anyway. The children can often use iPads and all of the rest of it. So a lot of the curriculum, I think, is a bit behind the times anyway, especially in primary school. So we're doing things that are less interesting than they have at home, possibly. So I think that's a problem. There's still you are very female heavy in a primary school, and so you've got a lot of their role models are women, and there still seems to be a lot of a kind of attitude of like, oh, I don't know how to do that, that's techie, I'm not techie. A lot of ladies are like that. I've been like that. I try not to be, because you're trying to be a good example, but you know, and so there's a lot of that kind of happens. So they're kind of, what they're seeing is like, oh, I've got all these ladies who are a bit useless, and in comes the man. The technician is always a man, and he fixes it. And so they're kind of seeing that. Then they go up to secondary school, and their teachers are nearly all men in IT. I imagine from what I've seen in secondary schools, that nearly all the IT teachers are men. So you're never getting that kind of really good role model of a lady who's interested in tech, and so they kind of don't ever see themselves in that position, I think.
And
Yeah,
that's the thing. We all learn from what we see, don't we, every day?
Yeah. And I think by the time they've got to secondary school, we've already put them into these stereotypical bubbles in primary school. So when they do go up, it's very rare that you would get a female student kind of break out of that. You kind of got someone, you know, who's a bit strong-willed, and they know what they like, and that's great, and they'll break out. But really, a lot of the girls kind of aren't interested by the time they get to secondary school, because they've never been exposed to it.
Yeah.
So is, I guess there's two questions then. Is it a case of yes, English and maths are important, and I fully support that, right? Because they're the foundations of your future in general, I guess, really, whatever you go to do. Do we need to look at the educational curriculum? And I'm saying we as in generally the country, not just, you know, us on this call, because I don't think we'd have much sway on that. And actually say, do you know what, we are going to start including in that maths, English, technology, and put a sort of an equal level of importance on it.
Yeah, it really should be. I think that there's a lot of, and it's not just at school, is it, right? It's at home too. You know, these children are learning, they spend 16 and 17 hours a day at home, 7 or 8 hours a day at school or with their friends. What are they seeing? How are they learning that? They need to be positively exposed to technology, not just gaming, but technology as what it can do for your future, what it can do for your world. And it is going to get more, not less, let's be honest.
So
the general lack of understanding of what technology is, because I think people think technology is iPads and computers.
Yeah.
And what you guys do is so different to that. It's all the nitty-gritty inside the computer, isn't it? But the general populace doesn't understand that, so doesn't get that. I didn't even know that some of the stuff Chris does existed until I saw him doing it, and I was like, oh. And I think generally we don't expose anyone to that.
And I think, you know, part of that, I asked to, or I went and found a copy of the computer science curriculum for year 7, 8, 9, whatever it was at the time, I can't remember. And, you know, I've been in this industry for 27, whatever it is, years. And I picked it up and I looked at it and I just thought, holy poo balls, that is gonna bore the hell out of anybody. You know, there's a few little bits that started actually earlier in sort of the, you know, years 5 and 6, something like that, where they were doing basic bits of coding to get, you know, this creature to go and reach that goal point and stuff. And I thought, okay, that's quite cool. You got up into year 7 plus, it's all about the OSI model, it's all about things like that. It's like, bloody hell, that's not going to interest anybody, let alone, you know, trying to attract other people into it.
When my son was in the first year seniors, which is, I don't know what year, I don't even know what the years are anymore, I'm that old.
Just say some numbers, it works.
Yeah, I know. My brain doesn't work that way. I was first year senior. So when my son was doing that, that was 14 years ago. And the technology at his school was maybe a bit better than some of the others, but they were still only learning about hackers, people that groom you, security online, stuff like that, which I get. They all need to learn. But like we're saying, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
There's more to tech is everywhere. It's everything we touch. Your dishwasher has tech. It needs to be programmed. Someone has to take care of that. There's, you know, and then there's business implications of all of this. Who's teaching them? Who's responsible for that? Because if our country isn't looking forward to train boys and girls in these things, we're going to have a very slim workforce.
Yeah, it's even looking beyond the like strict technical coding roles as well. You know, there's a lot of roles that are more business oriented where you need to have a basic understanding of tech. And I don't even think we kind of expose people to them. Like I never thought my role that I do now existed when I was, you know, when I was at school. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of fell into tech, to be honest. So we've done, in like some of my previous roles, we actually ran a day with kind of 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And we did a crystal maze experience where every room was kind of related to a different role within tech. So if you don't want to build a computer, you can go and code. But if you don't want to do that, and you're the chatty girl at school, you can go and be, you know, customer facing. And we had like a room that was orientated around that. And I think just getting them exposed to different roles and getting them excited about stuff. We don't do that. Coding isn't exciting to some people. For me, for example, it's not for me.
If you're not maths oriented, coding's probably one of the most boring things in the world. If you're languages oriented, then sales, being with people, learning about tech from that angle is a more appealing aspect.
Yeah.
You know, we are all different, and that's a good thing.
But it does sound like the curriculum for a start needs a bloody big shake up and actually put into real world, not boring old, you know, there's an awful lot of stuff which is still relevant, and if you go into that arena, great. But actually 95% of the people who use the tech or do clever things with it don't see that stuff.
No.
So
the problem with the curriculum all over is it was created by somebody in an office who actually doesn't have that much to do with it. And if they had a panel of people who work in the industry saying, well, this is what we want, this is what we want children to learn, or this is what would be useful for children to know before they went into, then we could come up with a really exciting, useful curriculum. But the problem with tech is it's so fast paced. You'd have to do that like kind of yearly, every 2 years or so. You know, you'd have to do it quite often, wouldn't you?
That's a good way that businesses and manufacturers could be involved in shaping the world we live in a positive way, rather than just showing us what they think we want. You know, and I think it's a big responsibility. If they want people to employ in 10, 20 years time, they should be part of that shaping process.
100%. Yeah.
So I'd like to sort of move again towards a little bit of what can we do now, because, you know, that's going to take some movement, and maybe as part of our, you know, our sort of drive to try and get the balance a bit better within NasStars, maybe we actually need to start creating some noise in the media to go, actually, this is what we want to happen. We want to change the curriculum. Maybe talking to some other companies that have stronger campaigns about getting women in tech and hooking up with them and saying, actually, do you know what, as an industry, we want you to change the curriculum. Maybe we should, you know, start getting the banners out, protesting type stuff. But you know what I mean? Maybe we should actually start to do that kind of thing, because otherwise we're going to be having this conversation again in well, I'm not, because I'll probably have either retired or be dead, but you know, one or the other. But you know, the problem won't get fixed. The bigger problem around what you said, Bryony, with when they get to school, they suddenly get told that boys do this and girls do that. I don't know how we fix society on that, or whether it's something that's going to take several generations to eventually filter through. But there is I guess is it more pressing? It's probably not more pressing, but there is a demand now to attract more women into IT. And some of the stuff we talked about on the previous episode was is some of the subliminal language we use in our adverts putting people off? Do we start, and I know HR and people team have started to look at, do we advertise jobs on sites that are specifically focused at attracting women, and some of the policies that make it potentially more attractive to return to work, that kind of thing, etc. And that's all very well. For me, I think there is a sort of an overriding question in the sense of, if we want to attract people in, the policies are great, will support things like that. But we've kind of got to have something that is going to say, look at this, you really want to come and engage with us on this, so we can, you know, I mean, I don't know. There's loads of things that you could potentially do or not to do. One of the things was, you know, we have access to training. We have very clever people within the organisation. The world is no longer the 9 to 5 strict. You do this. Everything's much more flexible. Do we turn around and create a campaign that basically says, if you sort of fit roughly this picture and you're looking to get into a new career, come and work with us. We'll help train you, put you on some sort of apprenticeship, sounds wrong, but, you know, sort of grown-up apprenticeship type thing, to help you develop and get into some work and experience and that kind of thing. I don't know, but there's got to be something we can do.
We need
to
to
try
be
and make
part
this
of the
happen.
change.
So thoughts?
100%.
We have to be part of that change, because to sit back and watch it and not do anything it would be remiss. You know, we're totally not practicing what we preach at that point, aren't we? And I think, you know, yes, women need more flexible lifestyle sometimes, because we have children, we have to take care of the house, and we still have to do all of that whilst working. And that's what I think people miss, is that, you know, just because you're a woman in work or a woman in tech or whatever you're doing, there's still all this other stuff that society expects you to do on the outside of that, doing the washing up, taking children to school. And, you know, whether we're working full time in tech or anywhere else, that stuff is sadly going to take a long time to breed out of society, that's just our job. You know, and I think if we could take young adults, any kind of adults, you know, people coming back to the work scene, and say, you know, you could do this. It's maybe a confidence thing as well with some people, if they've been out of work for a while, bringing children up or doing things like that. It's showing them that it's possible for them, and that's a hard road to go down, isn't it? But it's something I think needs to be done.
And definitely when you were talking about training and things, so if you have been out of work for, say, 5+ years raising children, and then you might be a bit out of touch with things that you know, and maybe if you then wouldn't have the confidence to go for a job, thinking, oh, I don't know enough now, or you might not be as successful because you are a bit out of touch. If you could go and do a training program, we can, you know, get those wonderful skills from those women, rather than being lost to their lack of confidence, and because they haven't had the time to keep it up, you know, or
But the other thing, and it kind of touches on what you were saying, Krysia, is let's talk about, you know, school hours, that kind of stuff. School runs, simple things like that. Or, you know, that period between you know, coming home from school and you know, going to bed when or cooking, whatever it is. You know, if you've got something that is deploying a new system or enabling something on, you know, on M365 or whatever, provided that's communicated, I don't think people care whether that happens at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock in the evening. So I think there is a very good correlation. But what I'm quite conscious of is, you see an awful lot of organisations going, we want more women.
That's
it. I haven't done that yet. I had to go and fix that. And it's almost just like a blanket statement. It's like, you know, when was it? A few weeks ago, Women in Tech Day. It was like, it was almost like tumbleweed. It was like, yes, we support it. Right, what are we gonna do?
What are we doing about it?
What are your actions?
And so I think unless you actually do something like that kind of apprenticeship thing, which is a physical, tangible something that you've built,
Mm-hmm.
changing the language in your job adverts. Okay,
Yeah, you got to do
cool.
more.
That's right. But I think you've got to do something else.
We also need to be thinking about what these young women who are coming up, you know, to do their options, what have coming up to A levels, or who might be thinking, oh, I really quite like tech, but don't see themselves, that they need to be seeing
Role
not
models.
just one lady who comes in, gets trotted in for the women in tech kind of day. They need to be seeing these positive role models and seeing themselves in that job, not just, you know, walking into if they walk into an office and it's full of men. That must be so, like, they just don't see themselves in that world, so then they don't see that that's something they could pursue, even if they're really interested in it.
But also, I think, you know, definitely for organisations like us, we need to have a bit of a long, hard look in the mirror type thing, because if you look at the amount of women we have in the business, it's quite good. It's not bad. It could be a lot better.
It's where they
But they're
sit.
all in there. So I have a team of 50. I have 2 women in that team.
It's where
Which is
these
a
people
pretty
sit.
rubbish, rubbish relationship.
Let's be honest. I think it's something like 26% in our company, which is a great number at high level. But actually, how many are in marketing? How many are in HR? Because let's be honest, they're the roles that
we are good
women
at
tend to be in technical.
And how many are in
companies.
sales support? Because that's what women tend to do, is support
Or in
roles
admin
rather
roles.
than yeah. You know, there's loads in revenue and assurance, there's loads in accounts, because that's the roles that we're nurtured into, even at very young ages. You know, go into a secretarial job, go and do this, like, we're not pushed.
Yeah, and usually those roles, because they are more admin based, and therefore there's not really kind of time critical, let's say, you know, that can be done at any point. Therefore, those are the kind of roles that are flexible around schooling and around your home life. So therefore, you're kind of deterred to go for something more technical, where there might be projects you're working on, or a more senior role within the business that, you know, you might be needed like a director's meeting all day or something like that. You know, unfortunately, that's just, it's tailored without us kind of consciously doing it. And that needs to be addressed, not just the overarching number.
So how then, I'm going to fire this one at you, Jess. how do we break out of that and say to the organisation, we've got, I don't know what the numbers are, so 250 women in the organisation, ballpark, right? How do we say we want to get a percentage of you over into the technical arena?
I think it's about showing people their capabilities. We have career development, but none of us know how to develop someone in that area. You know, the managers, and it needs to flow from the top, right? It needs to flow from the very, very pinnacle of every business. This is what we want to encourage. This is how we can open the doors for you. You know, not just, well, we've got career development, and we've got this and we've got that. We need to be more showing people what is available to them, and that goes for schools, it goes for businesses, it goes for everywhere.
Or instead of just showing them, do we actually need to look across that pool of people and go, actually, you're pretty switched on. How do you feel about coming and joining this team?
Oh, there is that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's more of us actively
proactive
doing something. To go and get somebody to try and get them into other roles.
Absolutely. And that's a manager's job, right? Is to look at your people, or to look at other teams of people and say, you really know what you're doing there. How would you like a taste of this? And to sort of,
that sounds quite aggressive, doesn't it? How would you like a taste of that?
No, not in that way at all. You know, come and see what we do. Spend a day with my team. See what we do. See if you enjoy this.
Yeah.
So can we offer taster days? Can we do things like that? How do we?
I think we can do what we. Oh, I was going to swear. I think we can do what we like. We just need to make it happen. And so, you know, I mean, you know, there is a small group of people working on what we can potentially do to attract more women into IT. So I think, you know, the stuff that we're talking about now should not remain forever in the boundaries of this podcast.
No. And
off
I
the
think
back
a
of
lot
this,
of
you and I are going to be having a conversation when you're actually back at work next week or whatever it is.
Tuesday.
Not on your day off like today. And then let's take that to them and say, right, actually no, this is what we want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know what they want to do in life. We go through life and we wake up and everyone's going, well, what do you want to do? What options are you going to take? What exams do you want to? No one really knows what they want to do, right? Most of us wake up every morning going, I don't know what my purpose is or what I'm good at. Now, sometimes it takes someone to show you what you're good at. Sometimes it takes someone to recognize that in you. And we've either got that one good teacher at school that can see you for who you really are and encourage you to the end of the world to do those really good things, but that's few and far between. Or you've got that manager at work that really takes an interest and says, look, I can really see you're showing a real penchant for this area. Come and see what it's like. Come and have a look. Come and
it's aptitude,
see if you enjoy it. It is aptitude. And I try to employ on aptitude and personality rather than what you've done in the past, because we've all done stuff in the past that we either enjoyed or didn't enjoy. It doesn't mean that's what we want to do for the rest of our lives.
No, I think I was probably mid to late 20s before probably later 20s before I worked out what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I don't know if I still know what I want to do.
No.
Apart from sleep,
Oh yeah, there is that. Yeah, absolutely. More sleep would be good.
But
But
nap during the day.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
But I think it's really, really important though to recognise that we don't have to make those hard decisions at the age of 8, 10, 12, 15, whatever it is. That there's time to change your mind about where you want to be and what you want to do, whether you're male or female, and that technology shouldn't be a taboo word at school or at home. It should be something we're encouraging everyone to look at in every different way. Maybe we could run road shows at local schools and show them what we do at NasStar and how children could be involved in some of that tech. And how that can work and what careers are available, because I don't know about you, when I was at school I had no clue what careers were available. No one showed us.
I got told to be a car mechanic.
I got told to be a
Did you have
hairdresser.
to do that quiz, quiz thing where it told you what to? I can't remember the moment.
Yeah, and then they had a list of about 4 things that they were short of in the area.
Yeah, exactly. Go and do an apprenticeship in hairdressing. I don't want to be a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because I was creative,
Yeah.
Difficult.
So we're just about at time. Unfortunately, Jess has disappeared. I'm assuming that her connection has dropped. So we will have to catch up with her afterwards and give her a list of actions, seeing as she's not here. But I think really to sum it up, one is we probably need to start raising some noise about getting technology as probably the third pillar alongside maths and English, because it's everywhere and it's only going to get more and more as we go through. The social stuff around boys do this and girls play with pink things. Wow, yeah, that's going to have to work its way out over quite some time, I think. The curriculum sounds like we need to get a whole bunch of tech companies together to go, your curriculum's way out of date. We'll help you write something that is more in line.
Yeah, future-proof it.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the more immediate piece, we need to look at some of the internal programs. I don't think it's so much about the wording that we've used to do adverts. It's more about let's provide actual proper opportunities internally and externally to say, come with us, we will help to get you over here.
Yeah. Can I just say, I listened to a podcast this morning from a Microsoft executive who was talking about not just saying, well, we've got so many percentage of women in our business, but saying where those women are, what departments they work in, like we were just talking about. And
don't look at the senior ranks of our company.
No, exactly. But they've been measuring that for 20 years to try and encourage more women. And they go into schools. I know they've got, unlimited funding to do things like that because of the size of their company. But they go into schools, they empower children to learn things, not just programming. and they obviously with that then help provide a path.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I said that we should stop talking because we run out of
Yeah,
time.
I know.
Yeah,
I'll
I know.
shut
You sort of gone again, haven't you?
I know. I'll shut up.
I know. Yeah. Well, you are now because I'm going to wrap it up. It's a fair point, though. It is a fair point. We need to be active doing it, not
Yeah.
just changing policies, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to all of you. I'm going to include Jess in this, even if she's not around and we can't see her anymore. But yeah, I mean, we will be back, and I think we will be revisiting this topic again for sure at some point soon. Bryony, I know it's probably been a bit of a sort of a baptism by fire, but thank you very much for coming and joining to us. So this is Bryony Mason, who primary school teacher. Krysia Jones, sales support manager. The invisible Jess, who is our Microsoft Alliance manager. If you've liked what you've heard, then please do like and share, and we will be back in a couple of weeks with our next topics, whatever they may be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome to NasStars, the NasStar Podcast, bringing you the conversations you want to hear from the front line of tech news.